Alrighty, so I've already started, but I thought I'd maybe show this project because I tried to do a little bit of research on this and I really didn't find that much. Anyways, full time lapse of the build. I'll shut this off here, but yeah. So basically, I just bought this plasma cutter, 80 amps. It's supposed to do 1 inch, and it did a real good job. Same consumable, of course. This is a 5-inch diameter hole. It actually cut pretty well. Here's a slug down here. So here's the idea. I got this bearing off of a Dodge Ram 5500, brand new. They're like 150 bucks. It's ridiculous. So I'm thinking this would make a decent swing. I know people around here have log loaders. They make them out of these style of bearings. So we'll try it out. It's something that I could find cheap and is brand new and should swing good on. So I've got to kind of cut a race here so that this flange fits in. So that's going to sit in there, and now I'm getting ready to punch my holes out. So I marked them. I've punched all of them out, and I'm going to get them out with this mag drill right here. So that's kind of where I'm landed, and I'm basically building a crane. So as I build, you'll understand. So this is going to be the pivot. I've got a 5 by 10 foot table here with a 1 inch thick steel plate. Weighs about over 2,000 pounds, I believe, with the legs and it. I think it's a 3,000 pound table, and I might even add some counterweight down there. So we've got a pretty heavy table, nice and sturdy, and I've always wanted to have kind of a crane bolted here. The way the shop is made, I've got the table here in a bay, and the door is here, and I usually bring my machinery in here to work on. So the idea is have just a little crane, maybe lift 1,000 pounds up close, maybe a 200 or 300 pounds at 10 feet. Not crazy weight, but it's kind of heavy if you're just grabbing it with your hands. And normally what I'll do is I'll open that door and I'll bring the tractor in and a SkyTrack and try to get things off the table, but it's not ideal. There's not much room here with the way it's made. So it's going to swing 360 degrees. For an example, if I'm taking an axle off of a machine here and I want to do work on the table, I can just lift it up, swing it around the table. And the idea is to eventually maybe get a milling machine and a lathe on the other side. So having a boom that can swing out that far, I wanted to be able to swing out to 14 feet, maybe a couple hundred pounds at 14 feet, but a couple hundred pounds in your arms is pretty heavy to try to settle down on a lathe or something like that. So this is the beginning. I'll punch my holes out. I'll try to get some video of this plasma cutter working because I'm quite pleased with it. I used to have this guy. I'm not a full fab shop, so I kind of enjoy these $200 or $300 plasma cutters. I've had this for at least 5, maybe 6 years. It's been getting used a fair bit. It goes through a lot of consumables, but they're about 40 bucks for like a bag full of them. So it cost me maybe 40 bucks a year of consumables, let's say. And the reason I'm blowing consumables is I believe this one here has a tip like that. I just glued that on there to make a compass out of it, but has a little roller that makes the tip not touch the ground, so I'm hoping it's going to last maybe a little bit longer. So that's sort of the project, and I'll take you guys through it as I go. I've got my rams here, and I've got my square tubing that I'm going to use for it. So that'll be the project. I'll try and keep you guys updated. All right, so I was able to cut this ring out here. So that sits like this. So here's the idea. So this ring is going to come here, space things out. Pretty happy with how that plasma cutter did. It's pretty wild. Like this, that's a pretty big cut in 1 inch steel, and it did it pretty good. And then when this comes here right snug on this, so I'm going to weld these two together. If I had a lathe here, I'd be able to do a very nice job. I'd tack these together and turn them around on the lathe, but I don't have one right here, and I don't think for what this is, it's really worth it. I'll smooth it up with the buffer, but so yeah, my 4-inch square tube is going to come onto here. So what I've got to do here is punch 4 holes with the mag drill through this to line up with these bolt holes here. This is like 9/16 fine thread or something like that. I've got some grade 8 9/16 coarse thread bolts that I'll put through And instead of having it threaded here in this flange, I'm gonna actually just probably just put a nut. I've got room under here for a nut, so I'll have a nut just so it's more normal kind of setup here, and you can use whatever bolt that's lying around because I don't have these in the shop. Alrighty, so I thought I'd do a little update since I haven't for a while. So I just kind of skipped filming all the cutting out these gussets here with the plasma cutter. Plenty of videos of those online. So yeah, I took a little bit of time to figure out the geometry here. What I started off with is I welded my pins where the booms were going to swing from. So I think that's the logical first step, because I'm not doing this with any computer program. I'm just eyeballing it sort of. So once I had my 2 pivot points here, this is 1.25 inch pin. That's an inch pin there. Then I kind of started with this first pivot here. I wanted it to go just about straight and go down about a little under 90 degrees. So it'll do maybe 100 degrees, this first pin. So kind of cut these plates out and then just kind of play with them, clamp them in until I'm happy with the angle it has and the radius that I'm able to get with the main boom. Then do the same thing with the second boom. And then I'm probably going to kind of trim these down. I wasn't too sure what I was going to end up with, because I would have liked to somehow connect this to this side here. When this boom is completely open and straight, maybe I can show you. So everything works out nice. Okay, so right here at this angle, let's open it all the way. Okay. So we're open all the way right here, right? So the load's going to be here. It's pushing down on this ram. It wants to go down this way, but it's forced horizontally. So this plate here is going to be wanting to shift this way. And an easy way to just kind of guarantee that the plate's not going to shift would be to connect it with this one. And then you're sending the stress from this plate all the way to this pin here, all the way down to the main frame, which is the ideal way to do it, I think. So I'll probably end up doing it. It'll probably be a piece of flat bar or a 2x3 tube or something like that there to kind of beef this up here. So that's kind of where I'm landed. Everything is tacked in, and I just kind of tested the flow of the beam. Nothing binds up or nothing. So I'm going to just remove my rams, take all of my pins out, and then weld everything nice and solid. And after that, I've got to finish this guy up here, this plate, weld these together. And then by the end of the day, I'm hoping I'll have sort of a complete boom. Then I've got on this boom here, I'm going to put a flat bar, a 1/4 inch by 2 flat bar that's going to come from here. Have a little tower here to kind of remove a little bit of the flex in this, because this is a 2.5 by 2.5 seamless 1/4 inch. I'll have a 2 by 2 3/16 that's going to come out 4 feet from here. So if I want this to remain stiff as possible, because that 2 by 2 which is there, that's going to have a bit of flex at 4 feet, which is fine. But remove as much of the flex, because that's what makes these things a little stressful. So just a little update, see where I'm landed. So here's the final video on the actual crane that I've been working on. All painted up, the hydraulic hoses are on. There was one little bug. Everything else works out real nice. There was one little bug up here where I'd done the testing, but without the fittings. I think I got carried away there at one point because there's so many options of angles and where you'd put your pins and all that, so I forgot about it. But yeah, that fitting wouldn't fit. And also I think this flat bar is an afterthought as well. So it makes it kind of like, I just cut it out with the plasma cutter there. It doesn't look very good, but at least it works, and I might reinforce that eventually. I'm just doing lift tests. So here's the bearing all installed. This right here, so I'll just do a recap of the material build. So Ram 5500 bearing. This is a 1 inch plate with a 3/8 plate welded on top of it. That's all bolted on. I've got little 1/4 inch flat bars here as gussets. I don't even know if they're necessary, just felt like adding them in. All of the ears are made out of 3/8 just mild steel plate, except for this one. This is 1/4 inch, and this is the last ram. Everything is 1/4 inch the whole way through. So we've got a 4x4 1/4 inch, 3x3 1/4 inch, and these are all 3/8 ears, like I said. And then we've got a 2.5 inch seamless tubing, which is 1/4 inch, and that is to be able to fit a 2x2 1/4 inch extension. So this adds about 5.5 feet of extension there. So this from end to end is 78 inches or something. So there's like 60 inches of extension. So you have about 15.5 to 16 feet reach from the pin here. This table is 10 feet long, so I've got plenty of room to reach everything on the table. The idea with the extension, although I might only be able to lift 300 or 400 pounds at 16 feet, is I'll eventually get some milling machine and a lathe, maybe a bigger press. So the idea is to be able to use this to get those parts on and off that are too heavy to lift, not wild weight, but too heavy to lift. So pretty happy with it. And it's hooked up to a hydraulic unit. So this is just a setup that you would see on a trailer with a 12-volt motor with a pump. It used to be single stage. Now I've just had it like a normal setup there with in and out. So I just put a 3 remote thing with so I have 6 female couplers. The idea of this is I can use this to power any equipment if I need to lift something to move it, or I've got some pallet flippers that might need it. So basically the whole rush to build this thing is for this project right here, which is going to be its own video. But I'm taking a lot of these bits apart, and instead of opening the door, coming in with the tractor, and you know how it is, just be able to just keep the door closed and hold some weight while I take pins out, and just be able to disassemble this without, normally I would do it probably like remove pins and let shit fall into the ground. So yeah, that's about it. Crane video build is done.